Sadigo Bhakta Vrinda.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद।
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada.
जय जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपदाय जय जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपदाय।
Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada.
जय पतित पावन शिला प्रभुपदाय जय पतित पावन शिला प्रभुपदा।
Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva.
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा।
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Ananda Kudi Vaishnava Vrinda ki all goes assembled to Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Maharaj, glory is yours.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gauravata Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we can try. share our screen. Okay. Tandavika Das, can you see our screen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Please repeat. Nanamata graha grastam.
Nanamata grahakastam.
Nanamata graha grastam.
Nanamata grahagrastam.
Dakshinatya janadvipan.
Dakshinate janadvipam.
Dakshinatya janadvipam.
Dakshinatya janadvipam.
Kriparina vimuchaitan.
Kriparina vimuchaitan.
Kriparina vimuchaitan.
Kripavina vimuchaitan.
Gorash chakre savaishnavan.
Gorashakre Savaishnavan.
Nanamata graha grastan.
Nanamata grahastam.
Dakshinatya janadvipan.
Dakshinatya janadvipan.
Kriparina vimuchaitan.
Kriparina muvichaitan.
Gorash chakre savaishnavan.
Gorachakra Savaishnavam.
Okay. And it says here, Nanamata, by various philosophies, by various ideas. Graha, crocodiles, grastan, captured. Dakshin Atya Jana, the inhabitants of South India. Dvipan, like elephants. Kripa Arina, by his disc of mercy. Vimucha, liberating. Etan, all these, Goraha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chakre, converted, Saha, he, Vaishnavan, to Vaishnava cult. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted the inhabitants of South India. These people were strong as elephants, but they were in the clutches of the crocodiles of various philosophies, such as the Buddhist, Jain, and Mayavad philosophers. With his disc of mercy, the Lord delivered them, all converted by converting them into Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. Okay, purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's converting the people of South India into Vaishnavas is compared herein to Lord Vishnu's delivering Gajendra, the elephant, from the attack of a crocodile. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited southern India, almost all the residents were within the jaws of the crocodiles of Buddhist, Jain, and Mayavada philosophy. Here, Kaviraj Goswami states that although these people were as strong as elephants, they were almost in the clutches of death because they were being attacked by the crocodiles of various philosophies. However, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of Vishnu saved the elephant Gajendra from the clutches of the crocodile, so he saved all the people of South India from the clutches of various philosophies by converting them into Vaishnava. So people always follow some philosophy. We may think, well, I don't follow any philosophy. I didn't take any courses on philosophy in the university. I just studied engineering or child development or some practical thing, you know. But Socrates said, Chandikapan, everyone, the unexamined life is not worth living. Because if you start looking at things, you see that we have a philosophy. Who am I? What is this world? What is the cause of things? If you have human intelligence, these things are unavoidable. Just like a dog has a certain ability to understand things, an amoeba, bacteria. So human being, even in the most, most what's the word, simple places in the jungle, you know, with no written language or anything else, Prabhupada says they still have some idea of religion. You know? Any human being has this idea about what is the cause, old grandfather's son, you know, and these kind of things like that. You know? So of course the most powerful, you know, philosophy nowadays is the ideas embedded in science. You know, science is so powerful that the state supports it, and anything else is just considered, you know, to be stupid and ignorant. You know? But science has a very certain specific idea about what is the world, who are we, everything else. That everything, just like the Sad Darshan, the six different views, Patanjali, Vishishta, Vishishta, Vedish, you know, Gautama, remember them all now, you know. Um, yeah, atheistic Kapila, you know, can't remember all the words, Jaimini, several. Uh, and Canada, of course, was atomism, but everything is composed of atoms. Even the Bhagavatam talks about atoms, Canto 3, you know, but it talks about behind the atoms there is, you know, Supreme Lord and much more developed idea of nature, really. Okay, so Canada has his Paramanuvad, and that then passes maybe to Greece, and Democritus picks up the idea that everything is being produced from atoms, and that then passes to Europe, and there the same thing is adopted and accepted somehow or other. I mean, a certain kind of geometry for understanding the world based upon Euclid's idea of the point. So we don't think about these things, but we actually see the world that way. Different kinds of people. We're always talking about this. You know? So when Lord Chaitanya was in South India, these people were being conquered by the Buddhists, the Jains, and the Mayavad philosophers. And of course, today is anniversary of Ramanuja's anniversary. And we tried to find a biography, and there was one written by somebody, you know, was presented on our little app, our Vaishnava calendar app. And usually they have stuff with Prabhupada's resources, but this one was just maybe like 5-page biography of Ramanuja. And they gave us a citation in the beginning by some Brahmin, you know, person like that, maybe a very respectable person, but it didn't say who he was or something, sort resource. So maybe it's a standard Ramanuja resource. Uh, and then we always wanted to do a timeline, you know, to see when these things happen. So funny, different people said they would help us, but nobody's been able to do it really. So finally, we just sat down today and started doing it. And so, you know, anybody wants to add things to our Anjana Sudha Academy timeline. So we looked up Buddha, and some say Buddha was born 563 years before Christ. And other people say Buddha was born 480 years before Christ. And after that is Confucius, which is just basically 10 years later, according to one estimate, that Buddha appeared in India and Confucius appeared in China. And right away, we could see a whole philosophical idea. That's why they're famous. You know, Buddha was coming at a time when people were following the Vedas, they were following the rituals, but they were doing it just for the idea of sense gratification. The purpose of understanding things in life in this world is how to gratify your senses in this life and in the next life, and also have sense gratification. My tongue and belly and genitals in poetical fashion, eating, sleeping, and mating and feeling in a very, very just described in poetical language, kavitam. Yeah. So Buddha saw this was ridiculous, and he preached a simple, common sense philosophy, but don't hurt other people. Such a basic idea, you know, don't hurt others, and then everything else just doesn't matter. So of course that gets taken into avoidism. And China, which was separated, of course, Confucius, if we were studying him, he was born in some kind of minor Kshatriya family, a little bit something or other, some education, some bureaucratic work. But finally, he was very motivated. Who knows why, who he was in his previous life. But he looked at all the previous Chinese philosophers. He's an acharya. He consolidated all the previous work and made up with his ideas about what was right, what was wrong. what was happiness? What was duty? How did the world work? You know, yeah. Who was the enjoyer? Yeah. And he tried to promote it. He tried to have different kings accept it, and for different reasons, people were able to defeat his activities. So he passed on an anxiety, thinking he'd not been able to do anything really. But he became, of course, one of the most long duration, most powerful philosophers in the world. Of course, in India and Western countries, we don't hear so much. But even Mao Zedong, they was destroying uh, Confucian ideas, trying to eliminate them, killing people, destroying their centers of worship, their literature, and establishing Marxist ideas, according to Mao Zedong's adaptation. But now what we see is happening is that, communism and Mao Zedong is just falling away. It doesn't work. And so Western consumerism is coming in, and China is trying to become a big technological powerhouse and follow the West and have a very, very uh, me- mechanically satisfied middle class, producing more things. Yeah, it's fighting for resources. But Confucian ideas are coming back, and people are starting to build Confucian Center in the village and follow Confucius' principle of character reform and perspective, and of course, tremendous amount of responsibility to your parents and to your ancestors, of course, which is not in the mode of good, but at least its purpose is at least it's in the mode of passion, at least a civilized life, that you have a very, very deep responsibility to your parents. You know? Okay, then we move ahead 500 BC uh, to 500 AD. This is the birth. Bharata Muni. Uh, he is, of course, is the attributed with being the father of the Natha Shastras. You know? In the Vedas, there's Gandharva Veda, Ayurveda. What else we got? Vastu Veda, Danda Veda. And all this knowledge is there, taking the ultimate truth and bringing it into practical activity. A practical activity in architecture, practical activity in medicine, practical activity in social, what do you call it, political science. You know? But Veda, it all aims towards ultimate realization. So what we're doing is, practically speaking, Gandharva Veda, singing, dancing, and drama. And Bharata Muni is the great ancestor of these things, and they can't really date him. Some people say 500 BC, and some people say as later as no, it's 500 AD. You know? But definitely his ideas of Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika Bhava, what creates the drama, what creates the sentiment, what creates the emotions, how do we touch people's hearts? This very, very clearly comes down to Rupa Goswami. In David Haberman's introduction to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he has the whole history there, how it passed from Bharata Muni to Abhinava Gupta to Dandan and on down to Emperor Bhoja. And some of those were Kashmiri Brahmins who believed the purpose of theater was to achieve impersonal Brahman peace, like Shantaras, And then Bharata, Emperor Bhoja it was very, very much like our idea. That the Baba we were trying to achieve through theater uh, is is serving Krishna, God. And Rupa Goswami then puts it into Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So our yoga is basically Gandharva Veda, singing and then naturally dancing and then naturally performing drama coming out of that. Lord Chaitanya was always acting out the song when he was doing these things. Okay, so that passes down. It's a whole different timeline. You know. And then looking ahead here, 500 BC, then 356 BC is Alexander the Great. So Alexander was 350 years before Christ was born. It's amazing, huh? Jesus Christ has such a big influence on things, but 350 years before that, Alexander conquered the Persians, conquered Egypt in the north, and went all the way to India, all the way with his army, and incorporating and making people and conquering them and getting them involved in his government, marrying people to so many people. So very, very powerful person among men. I am the monarch. And of course, in the India, first he conquered Taxila, then he conquered, I can't remember the next, who conquered next. Huh? Magad. 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 Magad, no. I can't remember the name of the guy. But he was on the other side of the river for about 2 months or something. Uh, Taxila first, and then Taxila surrendered. And the next guy fought, and usually Alexander, I think, was surrender and become part of my empire, or if I fight, I'll destroy you and destroy all the people in your town whatsoever. You know, he'll come back. And so then but this person was so heroic in his fighting that he even still accepted him. And then they went ahead and proceeded to the next level, which is where they came across Chanika Pandit and Chandragupta. And by that time, they had so many, soldiers and elephants assembled that his soldiers were just tired, and Alexander had to just give up, even without fighting, really. You know, yeah. Uh, so then he headed back and everything else. But he had great influence, and of course, his guru was Aristotle. You know, okay. Then 2087 was Archimedes, who was considered one of the greatest scientists and philosophers ever existing. He actually had invented calculus. You know, 200 years before Christ, he had invented calculus, and it was written down. And then that script, papyrus, was found by some Christian people. They kind of washed it off and wrote Christian songs on it. Then it went ahead to somebody else, some archaeologists, historians, and they found that something's behind here. And then they began to pull it out of the song thing, and they finally realized what they had, and very, very certifiable that this was something Archimedes. So calculus wasn't invented in the West until Sir Isaac Newton. I don't know if we have him down here or not. We should. And Leibniz, Porus. First Taxilaraj, then Porus, and then Chandragupta. You know, so if the West had calculus that much earlier, our whole technology would have changed in terms of our ability to do things. So Archimedes is a very interesting person, but he was a little bit after Alexander, you know. And then 470 BC, we're out of order here, okay. 470 BC was Socrates. So he goes back, yeah, he still gets out of order. 4 and 5 have to be moved. And of course, Socrates' disciple was Plato, and then Plato's disciple was Aristotle. And Aristotle, again, he's so many things in terms of geometry, biology, so all these things. He was tremendous influence on all of our Western ideas. And he was into analytical thought. You want to understand the frog, you pop out his eyeballs, pull off his nose, open him up, pull out his intestines, analysis. Whereas synthetic idea is you begin to know the frog, you see what he likes, you start to associate with him, you synthesize with him. But Aristotle was very analytical, you know. But his ideas were lost to the West, and they came through then the Greek, what's it called, the uh, whole line of Arab philosophers. And so we see the Prophet Muhammad in 570 AD, and a little bit farther down here, Averroes, 1126. So he was a guy who, wrote tremendous amount about Aristotle. He was an Arab. Mm-hmm. And through him, it came into the West, back into the West, with St. Thomas Aquinas, and we adopted very much the ideas of Aristotle. Going on in India, we see 700 AD. Muhammad was 570 to 623 AD. And Shankaracharya was 700 to 750 AD. Okay. And Ramanuja was about 300 years later. And of course, he was fighting very seriously, with the ideas of Shankara. And so today, of course, is the anniversary of Ramanuja's appearance. And people say he was a tremendous philosopher. He was born Brahmin family. According to the biographies, at least things I could find, they're saying again, like Jesus, there's some biographies that came after him. Some people were writing, they have those. But then maybe about 100 or 200 years later, he divided into two groups, which I think basically is the cat versus monkey philosophy. Uh, the cat carries you, and we have nothing to do, and the monkey has to hold on completely, and the mother doesn't do anything. So Ramanuja's group divided into what the mercy was, how much responsibility we had in our achievement of mukti and realizing Brahman. And biographies were adjusted in terms of that. Apparently, that's what the reports say. So I look for Prabhupada's books and everything else, and not much in a very general idea. You know. So Ramanuja did not agree with the Advaita philosophy, even though his guru was Advaita. So the famous story is that he was always in contesting. He's a small child. He would just argue with his guru about the interpretations of the Vedas and everything else. And his guru, according to the ideas, he tried to have him killed and several times tried to have him killed, but he ran away. And he was studying this, that way, and that way, and became the acharya in Sri Rangam and different things. And especially in the Vedas, three sources of information are considered very basic. That you have to establish your philosophy on the basis of three books: you know, Vedanta Sutra, the Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. Is it Trione Prestan or Prestan Trione? So he has a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Sri Bhashya. He has a commentary on, I think, the Upanishads. And then he has a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, which were written at different times, but very powerful. When the beginning of ISKCON, one young man, he said, A.C. Bhakti, he said, Guruji, what do you think of Ramanuja? And Prabhupada said, Ramanuja is our guru. We use his philosophy to smash the teeth of Shankara's Advaita philosophy. You know? And some ideas are there, but as far as we can tell, he's basically saying there is Jiva, there is Prakriti, and there is Brahman or Param Brahman, and they're all Brahman, they're all reality. They're not nothing, nowhere illusion. And some idea about how they're related. And at least the way people are presenting his ideas, you achieve mukti, and then you realize Brahman, but it's not quite sure if that Brahman, you maintain your identity, but at least that we're presenting him was more or less just realizing the bliss of Brahman, but there was no real clear idea uh, about um, about bhakti, the way Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya developed it. So that was, Shankara was 700 AD in South India, and he was capturing everybody like a crocodile. And Ramanuja was 1077 AD. Simultaneously, Averroes was bringing Aristotle back into the West, our philosophy. And then St. Francis, of course, one of the greatest of all Christians, 1181. Simultaneously, Madhvacharya was almost the same time as St. Francis. He was 1,200. So Ramanuja was 1,100, and Madhvacharya was 1,200. So about, what is that? It's about 100 years after, but only, what would that be? Maybe 5 generations. So, of course, Madhvacharya, yeah, there are differences in Madhvacharya's ideas about reality, Vishishta Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita, Dvaita Dvaita. In China, finally, 1486, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and such a very, very, very complete idea, philosophy, uh, embraces all of the Christian ideas coming down, from Jesus and everybody else. And from my experience looking at the different philosophies, that Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is so wonderful, so satisfying. Uh, Ramanuja, Madhva, Jesus Christ, St. Francis would all be very satisfied, I think, with Lord Chaitanya philosophy, and they'd all join ISKCON. They would all join ISKCON. 1486, Lord Chaitanya was born. 6 years later, Columbus discovered America. Okay. 1489, 3 years after Lord Chaitanya, we have Rupa Goswami was born. So Rupa Goswami was just 3 years younger than Lord Chaitanya. No, no. And then 1564 was, well, that's interesting. The day that Rupa Goswami died, left his body, was the day William Shakespeare was born. That's interesting. Such great, powerful authors, most powerful. And in Spain, Miguel Cervantes was born almost the same year and died almost the same, pretty died the same day as Shakespeare. And of course, Cervantes wrote Don Quixote, which is uh, considered, the biggest selling novel of all time. It's an incredibly funny story with so many wisdom things involved in it, who we are. Okay, 1724, Immanuel Kant. Kant was a very, very great philosopher. People say the most powerful philosopher in the Western history. Yeah, but he presented the idea that science is insufficient. You cannot just understand things by looking at nature. You cannot explain everything. his idea was you have to have certain ideas, concepts, abilities before you even look at nature. For example, you have to be able to discriminate things. I have to be able to discriminate Sri Hari from the light bulb. Yeah. So certain categories, you said, were there a priori. Before you're experiencing the world, you had to have certain innate intellectual abilities that allowed you to see it. Oh, very nice. Then his head hereditor was Friedrich Nietzsche, and then finally Carl Gustav Jung. You know? And of course, Kant is presenting many ideas similar to Socrates. You know, what is reality? Who we are? If you notice, Bhaktisiddhanta was born 1874, Carl Jung was born 1875. So what we're trying to do is, of course, create these contrasts because they both lived through the industrialization, the modern practical application of science, geometry. Has been implied in industrialization, building machines, making people into uh, working forces into machines. Everything has to have a bureaucracy. It looks like a machine. Yeah. So they lived through it and gave us all this advice about problems that were happening. So we're very much like enthusiastic to talk about this contrast between Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Carl Jung. And finally, 1896 to 1977, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we live in a world of philosophy. And in many times, of course, we're just like, we're just very, very sensuous. We accept common people accept a very simple idea. Animals learn from their owners about what is right, what is wrong, these kind of things, and they trust them. They have faith in them, and they like them. They'll help them. They'll protect them. Animals like working with people and so on. So Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, and he converted all the people into Vaishnavas. Of course, his type of Vaishnavism was saved them from the Buddhist philosophy, from the Mayavad philosophy, and from the Jain philosophy. So, anybody have any comments or ideas about Ramanujacharya or anything? Shihari is here. Shihari has a question.
Ramanuja's guru
Yes.
gave him a mantra.
So Ramanuja's guru gave him a mantra,
which he would not give easily. But what happened after Lord came to the heart of the guru, yes, got to give this mantra. Om Namo Narayana was the mantra.
Om Namo Narayanaya.
So then, after taking initiation, Ramanujacharya started traveling, and Ramanujacharya was told, "You cannot tell it to anyone else.
It will liberate you. It will save you."
Yeah.
But you have
But then you cannot. But then Ramanujacharya went further, and he saw a lot of people in a fair eating this, that, enjoying, having fun, dance, music, and Ramanujacharya became heart filled with mercy.
Yes.
Let me give mantra to all of these people.
Okay.
And then he climbed on some tree or something.
Yes.
And he started shouting, "I have one thing very precious for all of you.
Yes.
I will give you away without any cost.
Okay.
Change your life. You will be happy forever."
Oh, I'll take it. I'll take it.
And everyone chanted, "Yes, give it, give it." As Om Namo Narayana. And everyone chanted Om Namo Narayana. The whole crowd was enthusiastic.
Oh my God.
And everyone chanted. And the news spread.
Yes.
And Guru sent messenger.
Oh my God.
He was on the way, come back right away.
Yeah.
He went back. And Guru's eyes were like fire. And he was looking at Ramanujacharya will burn to ashes by his anger.
Yes.
He said, "Guru Maharaj, you can burn me down with your anger.
Yes.
But what would you think about those who are suffering in this material world?
Yes.
And I gave your powerful mantra to them.
Yes.
I would suffer in the hell
Yes.
based on your curse,
Yes.
or you may curse me anything, but I would die in curse, then living them."
Okay.
Then Guru said, "Okay, now I understand what your motive." He became a little melted down.
Mercy.
Mercy.
I was reading that was said that Ramanuja's philosophy basically was two things: serve Guru and serve Vaishnava. Yeah. But they said that because he was the first person to really establish bhakti, and because of that, all the other bhakti movements could develop. What Prabhupada was saying, they could develop because it went beyond all this impersonal idea of reality. And they say that therefore Ramanuja, and then bhakti became the prominent aspect of the Vedas after him. After him.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Ramanuja is our Param Guru.
Yes.
Here we have, what do we have here? I'm going to stop sharing. There are 19 participants. Abhay Narayan, Mina's iPhone, Kiran, Sanjay Singh, Ishwari. Yeah. Yeah. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. Yes. So maybe tomorrow we're going to go, Srihari and I go see Giriraj in Franklin. We're going to take the old Murphy Burroughs Franklin Highway and go see Giriraj. Prabhupada says that Vaishnavas, like Narada Muni, they travel all over the world to different places of pilgrimage. What they do, like going to your office or going to the store, we go to places of pilgrimage. And Krishna sends innocent people. We remain pure, full program. And then Krishna sends innocent people, and then they then are patient. We haven't got to put on a big show. No, they're patient. They listen to what is this world? Because that's the first principle. Unless we understand that this world is not our home, not a proper place, we just wake up to that, and there's no motivation to look for anything else. I was in Berkeley in 1970, 74, 75, 76, I guess, 75. And Srila Prabhupada, we came there for the Rath Yatra. We just got the new building. And somebody, what is it, from Prasadam International or something like that, they had some business going, and they gave a donation of $10,000 to Srila Prabhupada. $10,000, and $20 bills. And so I was treasurer, and I hadn't even taken second initiation yet, and I was terrified of Prabhupada, like that, But I was told to go to the office, go to his room. So I came in. There was Brahmananda, Nimai, and Jayatirtha, I think, and they were all had a pile of $20 bills in front of them. They were counting, and I gave a pile, and I started counting, And meanwhile, and so this was never recorded or anything else. So I'm at this point, I'm the only person left alive, I guess, who can talk about this. So one day, Prabhupada was sitting there, and he was just preaching. Always, he was talking about philosophy ideas, and everybody else was counting money. So Prabhupada told a story. He said, "There's one man who works in the mines all day, underground, no air, no breathing, water coming in. It's terrible, risking your life at any moment of being crushed or trapped and dying, And so he said, and it was just a coal mine or something going on for many years, many lifetimes, many generations. So after that, he goes out and have a bath and sits in the country tavern and drinks a little local beer and reads the newspaper or something, So Papa said then that the when Brahmin comes by or priest and he looks at him and says, "You are drinking beer. You are going to hell." And the miner guy a little bit, frightened, and he said, "Well, but sir, my father, I work in the mine all day, and afterwards I just take a little bit of beer to relax, And my father did the same thing." And the Brahmin says, "Your father is also going to hell." And the guy says, "Well, my whole family, my cousins, my uncles, my brothers, we all work in this horrible mine, and it's terrible. In the afternoon, we sit and relax and a little beer to relax like that." Then the Brahmin, waves at him and walks away and says, "You are all going to hell." So Prabhupada was telling this story. So he says, and the man sits there and thinks and says, "Well, if I guess we'll all be in hell, maybe it won't be so bad." So then Prabhupada said, "This is the material world." Tandavika looks at somebody as some input output guy, and looks at somebody else doing Excel and somebody, and looks around, and everybody is suffering. She says, "Oh, I guess this is just the way it is." And that's what happens, Prabhupada says. Nobody has any impetus. They get like now, they have to put up with somebody racing his engine outside louder and louder because he's frustrated, this and that. And doesn't want to go home to his wife who's giving him a hard time because she feels unhappy, and or else come home with some beer and pizza, invite some friends over and watch the latest what I don't know, Terminator 7 movie like that, something, you know. So yeah, and then they know it's they don't want to face it. There's enough intoxication so they can avoid thinking about it. But at heart, they know it's terrible. But that's all they see. Everybody's like me, So there's no impetus to change everything. It's like everybody's at the fair, and it's not satisfying. You know, when I was a hippie, I wasn't much of a hippie, but when I was in college, one this whole time of like everything else, one of the hippie guys had gone to Disneyland. We were up in San Francisco. He went to Disneyland down in Anaheim, Los Angeles. And he was taking LSD. Okay, went to Disneyland on LSD. Saw Mickey Mouse, everybody. And he said at some point he just looked around, and he said there was not a single person who was smiling. So many people going, waiting for this ride, going here, buying stuff. And he said, I just looked. Nobody was smiling. Everybody was in Disneyland, so on. You know. So so this is what we're trying to avoid, because we realize, and you see, I asked somebody, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How's the family? Oh, they're fine, you know. But everybody behind that is, knows if as soon as I admit anything, everybody will attack me. As soon as there's any blood, all the sharks, attack, they go for the person, like, oh, he's unhappy, because you try and bring them down and, make you feel better if you could eat somebody else. So, well, behind all this are certain fundamental philosophical principles, which Prabhupada is saying they don't have to be very sophisticated. A few basic ideas and concepts that's just to occupy your intelligence, whatever intelligence you have. If you have very, very great Brahminical qualifications, okay, then you can learn these things in great detail. You can learn them from different perspectives. And so they apply to so many different people like that, you know. And so today, very, very nice day for Ramanuja. And there's actually some Shastra that says that first he appeared as Balaram. No, first he appeared as, I think, as Lakshman. Then he appeared as Balaram. And now he has appeared as Ram Anuja, right? Being born after Ram Anuja, you know. And so that's very, very nice, because next Tuesday, I think Tuesday is the appearance of Ram. So the anniversary of Ramanuja Acharya's appearance day is right before the appearance of Ramachandra. So hopefully we'll have some little program. We can work something out and maybe get together or have a little bit of a kirtan for Ram. We celebrate Ram Vijayosava. So any final comments or questions here? Yeah, yeah. We had a nice conversation at that Sundu today. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hare Krishna, anybody have any questions
Or comments?
or comments?
Yeah. Complaints? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll turn the program over to our sponsors, and we'll fade into the background. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Do we have any volunteer for nursing a prayer? Wow, everybody's quiet today. Okay, Prabhu. Vishnu Chandas, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladalada Hiranyakashipu Vaksha Shrilatanka Nakhalale Nastingo Parato Nastingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nastingo Nastingo Hridaye Nastingo Narasinga Madam Sharanam Prapate Tava Karakamala Pare Nakhan Padbuddha Shingam Dhalita Hirana Kashipu Danu Bhingam Keshavadrita Nara Hari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare तव कर कमल बरे नखा मदबुद्ध श्रृंगम धालिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगम केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश जय नरसिंह दे जय नरसिंह दे जय नरसिंह दे जय नरसिंह दे जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रभु पद जय प्रभु पद जय प्रभु जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा सिंह भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय प्रभुपाद की जय
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Vaishnava. So we come to the conclusion. Please go ahead and unmute ourselves and Vaishnava prayer, please.
Vanchakalpatarubhyaścha
Vanchakalpatarubhyaścha
Patitana
pavanebhyo
Pavnebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
namo
Namo
namah.
Namah. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj.